The story kicks off in an alternate reality, showing off the bustling metropolis above before the camera pans down into a dingy sewer workshop. Inside the place, our MC contemplates how it's already been over a semester since he transmigrated here. Holding his simple piggy bank, our boy gets depressed seeing he's only saved up 5 silver coins after all this time. Disappointed, he estimates it'll take years of hard labor to get just 1 gold coin. The bare minimum required to attempt a class change, which has a near zero success rate anyway. The guy remembers that 6 months ago, he was just a fresh graduate obsessed with video games, and wonders when this miserable existence will finally end. Right then, memories of his arrival flood back, remembering how right after transmigrating, he was lucky enough to witness the sheer craziness of this universe. It was an epic clash between top-tier pros showing off absurd powers. The force of that collision was so massive it sent our boy flying a huge distance. Dumbfounded by the scene, he could barely fathom the ridiculous power scale of those individuals. That sight slapped him with a harsh reality check on how things actually work around here. In the blink of an eye, the massive gap between him and true powerhouses became crystal clear. Talk about the roughest welcome a newcomer could ever get. After that, a veteran pro pulled him out of the chaos and brought him to an aid station, bluntly telling him he was just an ordinary guy with zero talent. Back to the present, he stares at his monthly income spreadsheet, realizing those copper coins are his only shot at saving up for that coveted gold coin. Working daily trapped in the sewers without ever seeing sunlight, our MC feels like he's about to lose his mind. He's hitting his limit, knowing he'll go insane if he's forced to stick to this exhausting grind for years. Determined not to waste nearly 10 years of his life, our guy refuses to accept this fate in a world that literally has a status panel. With a determined look, he sets his ultimate goal, to become a high-tier pro with overwhelming power. Accessing his system, we see the name Wu Ju and his super low stats, but what really stands out is an unawakened extraction gift. The big catch is that awakening this latent ability is an insanely tough mission. Wu Ju reflects that this gift has been with him since he arrived, yet none of his research turned up any useful info on it, so he figures his ability must be extremely rare, leaving him wondering whether it extracts skills, items, or even raw stats. Gripping a solid metal pipe, he bets on the theory that taking down creatures will trigger the gift, which would definitely give him enough punch to break the rules of this world. Inspecting a scrap piece of gear, he notices the object offers a minor physical attack boost. Immediately, Wu Ju attaches the blade to the pipe, set on trying everything to awaken his hidden talent. Armed and ready to go, the guy leaves the workshop knowing this is his one and only chance to turn his life around. Soon, he begins patrolling the damp, gloomy tunnels of the city's massive sewer system. Suddenly, the sound of something moving catches his attention, making him crouch down real quick. His instincts go on high alert, with strong suspicions about what might be crawling in those shadows. With extreme caution, our MC peeks around the corner, clutching his improvised weapon tightly. To get a better view, he uses a hollow pipe as a makeshift spyglass to scout the area ahead. Shocked, he spots a massive bristle rat, thinking it's totally absurd for a creature like that to end up in the city sewers. Quickly, he recalls info from the manuals he studied over the past 6 months, confirming the monster's stats and threat level. However, a game-changing factor flips the whole script. The creature is covered in wounds and visibly weakened. Realizing the situation, Wu Ju notes this is the biggest golden opportunity that's crossed his path since arriving in this world. He hesitates briefly, calculating that reporting the beast would only net him pocket change, but risking a fight could give him the cash needed for his class change. Aware that he'll rot in this sewer forever if he doesn't take a shot, our boy makes his choice. Locked in on his desire to get overpowered, he mentally prepares for the upcoming battle. Using his knowledge, he grips his homemade weapon, knowing a loud noise will be enough to bait the beast. Without delay, Wu Ju strikes the metal hard, immediately drawing the target right toward him. The creature lets out an angry screech, ready to pounce on whoever annoyed it. Taking advantage of the monster's distraction, our boy takes off down the hallway with the creature hot on his tail. His plan is clear: lure the target right into the ambush set up at the bend of the tunnel. Pacing his steps, he calculates the exact timing of its arrival based on the opponent's injuries. As soon as he rounds the corner, he gets into position holding a heavy metal cover for protection, knowing there are only 3 seconds until impact. The creature bolts down the tunnel, while our MC runs a mental countdown. The monster speeds up even more, dangerously closing the gap. In the final second, Wuju plants his feet and sets his defense. Unable to break, the beast launches its main charge straight at the guy. The collision hits the metal cover head, on proving his tactic of using it as a shield worked perfectly against the charge. Knowing the beast needs 30 seconds before it can launch that attack again, our boy realizes this is the exact moment to strike back. Breathing heavily from the effort, he pushes forward without giving the enemy time to recover. He strikes the opponent, fully aware that his low stats wouldn't allow a win in a contest of pure physical strength. To guarantee victory, he shoves the creature into the corner of the wall, forcing a much more favorable setup. Taking advantage of the environment, our MC leaps off an elevated pipe, gathering momentum for the decisive blow. Letting out a resolute shout, he focuses all his strength into the final strike. The homemade spear comes down with full force, hitting the target right on the mark. The final blow is enough to take the creature down for good. Exhausted, Wuju celebrates the unbelievable feat of an ordinary human taking down one of those monsters all by himself. The system announces the victory, and even without gaining experience due to being classless, our boy overflows with joy seeing his effort pay off. He realizes the manual was right, as 2 loot drops appear at once, and he starts fantasizing about the chance of getting a rare shadow scroll. In his mind, scoring an item like that would be a massive jackpot, since besides guaranteeing a high success rate, it even lets you choose your new class path. Hyped up, he acknowledges that plenty of powerful pros struggle to get one, and if he gets that lucky, he'd skip years of hard grind. Reality hits him when he picks up the first drop, realizing it's just a small pouch of copper coins. A bit let down, our boy admits expecting a miracle right at the start was reaching, given he didn't even get basic gear. Stashing the coins, he turns back to the monster's carcass to see if there's anything else worth salvaging. Getting closer, a weird detail catches his eye, leaving him super intrigued. Using his blade, he makes an incision and notices distinct marks, realizing someone intentionally hid something inside. To his complete astonishment, the hidden object is the exact Shadow class scroll he wanted so badly. Stunned by his own luck, he can barely believe he's holding the ticket to his future. A wave of immense relief and happiness washes over him, knowing his chance to escape the sewer has finally arrived. However, his moment of glory is cut short by heavy footsteps and a voice demanding he drop the item immediately. A burly man in armor appears down the hallway, warning him in a threatening tone that the item doesn't belong to him. Shocked by the sudden appearance, Wuju recognizes the guy instantly, remembering he was the exact pro who saved him 6 months ago. Staring at the newcomer, our MC whispers in recognition while tension thickens in the dark corridor. Wuju apologizes to the man, feeling the overwhelming, nerve-wracking pressure of the moment. Justifying his abrupt move, the young man reveals he simply has no choice. Instantly, he slams the shadow scroll against the ground with all his force to activate it. The armored pro yells in shock, ordering the kid to stop right that second. A powerful, dark force begins to surround our MC's body, making him realize that an item hidden for so long is super risky. Suffering under the immense energy pressure, Wuju vents that he spent over 6 months rotting in this sewer, and just wanted a real shot at life. The aura grows even darker as he declares he can't throw away this chance when it's right in front of him. Seeing the kid's desperate state, the veteran asks why he used the item immediately after seeing him, since he had no intention of taking it by force. Completely bewildered by the rush, the man asks what real reason could drive him to such an extreme measure. Trembling from the spell's pressure, the young guy confesses that at first he didn't even dare to move, terrified of getting beaten up, but then he recognized who was there. Remembering it was the same pro who rescued him months ago and brought him safely to the city. Realizing he was facing a good person, Wuju mentions that if he doesn't make it, all the money he saved up will be left to the veteran. The system notifies that the scroll has successfully initiated and dark powers are about to consume the user's soul. As he rapidly loses consciousness, our boy swears that if he survives, he'll definitely repay the favor and settle his debt. The veteran stands frozen in the tunnel, thinking it's absolute madness that someone good-hearted gets caught in a mess like this. Setting his frustration aside, the man rushes forward to try and rescue the young guy in danger. However, the barrier of dark magic around our MC explodes into a massive pillar, blasting the veteran backward violently. The explosion slams the warrior hard against the metal beams of the tunnel wall. Far away from there, Wuju's mind wakes up in a completely unknown place, and while levitating, he wonders if his long-awaited class change went wrong. In front of him, a terrifyingly formidable figure rests on a massive throne, surrounded by an ocean of shadows and an overwhelming aura. The young guy looks tiny and vulnerable, levitating before that crushing presence in the middle of nowhere. The system identifies the enigmatic entity as the Shadow Sovereign, hiding all stats behind a clear lethal danger warning. Frozen by the absurd pressure, Wuju notices in terror that he can't move a single muscle due to the weight of the darkness. The Sovereign looks down at the intruder, calling him a pathetic insect for having the audacity to crave his power. Suddenly, a monumental attack in the form of a red wave of energy cuts through space, heading straight for our MC. Watching inevitable ruin approach, the kid grits his teeth, refusing to accept such a disastrous end. Upset, he laments that he barely caught a glimpse of a fresh start before almost losing everything in such a lame way. With fierce determination, the young guy tells himself he can't just vanish like this. However, the massive energy wave hits the target square on, tearing through the air and causing terrifying damage in its wake. The collision triggers a gigantic dark energy explosion before the creature's throne, kicking up a dense dust cloud. The throne remains surrounded by violent residual energy as the glow of the attack slowly begins to fade. Puzzled by the outcome, the Sovereign realizes the target managed to escape, finding such persistence intriguing, but quickly warns that the kid's soul will return to the dark regardless. Elsewhere, Wuju's body plummets from a cloudy sky straight toward the so-called plain of rotting corpses. He slams hard against the sturdy wooden floor of a ruined structure, kicking up a ton of dust from the impact. Confused and sore from the crash, our guy lies there trying to process what just happened. His eyes widen as his mind catches up to the bizarre situation he's in. Completely shocked, the young guy slowly pushes himself up and asks out loud how he's still alive after going head-to-head with that monster. The memory of that terrifying entity flashes through his mind like lightning, leaving him super confused about what it actually was. Right then, the unmistakable chime of a system notification breaks the silence, making him look over immediately. The alerts confirm the scroll's activation, specifying that he entered a secret realm and received a tough quest to survive for 3 full days to escape. Reading the terms, he sees the final reward will be determined by his survival time and performance in this dangerous place. A smile of pure relief washes over the young guy's face upon checking that the class change was completed successfully, and he mentally thanks the veteran for saving him once again. With his body still aching from the fall, he makes an effort to move and pay attention to his new reality. Opening the stat panel, Wuju excitedly discovers he's become an apprentice necromancer, even receiving a damage spell scaled off his spirit stat. Beaming with hype and ignoring the dirt, he celebrates the success of his risky gamble, knowing he's left being ordinary behind for good. Studying the key details of his spell, our MC realizes it only has a 10-meter range, making him a super vulnerable target at close range. Suddenly, the thin wooden wall of the structure gets completely shattered by a deafening crash. Shock takes over as our guy turns instantly to face whatever caused the destruction. A level 5 rotting corpse bursts through the ruins, letting out a beastly roar with its eyes glowing a creepy shade. Stunned by trouble popping up in the very first minute, Wuju backpedals quickly to try and secure a safe distance from the threat. He slides his feet back on the aged floor, adjusting his stance to cast his very first genuine spell. Focusing his newly acquired mana, the young guy starts hurriedly chanting the incantation to release his destruction magic. But the monster is way too fast for a zombie and charges full force before the chant can finish. The beast lands a crushing blow directly on our boy, breaking his concentration and stopping the spell halfway. Unable to dodge that brutal rush, Wuju learns the hard way that trying to fight up close was a huge mistake. The violent hit sends the kid flying, making him cough up red juice, and realize the monster's offensive power far exceeds his expectations. He's launched helplessly against the already unstable wood of the ruined building. Our guy's body smashes through the outer wall with a loud bang, tumbling hard outside into a dark, dead environment. Lying on the dirty ground clutching his chest, our MC suffers intense pain, feeling like his ribs are on the verge of breaking. Knowing he can't tank another direct hit, he realizes he must use this new distance to pull off a precise counterattack before it's too late. ignoring the sharp body pain. The young guy tries to steady himself on the cold ground as the grotesque figure emerges from the building's ruins. Fully locked in on survival, he raises a shaky hand and resumes the spell chant, channeling swirling blue energy. The spell takes the shape of a spectral fang and shoots through the air, flying like a missile toward the rushing zombie. The attack hits dead center in the enemy's chest, piercing the rotten flesh with pinpoint accuracy. A smile of victory and relief appears on Wu Ju's face as he cheers the successful hit, but his expression quickly turns to sheer shock. The monster seems to ignore the massive hole in its torso and keeps charging at the exact same pace, making the kid realize the heart isn't a weak spot here. With a violent leap, the rotting corpse tackles our MC with its mouth wide open, ready to turn him into lunch. The beast slams the guy hard onto the ground, forcing him into a desperate, one-sided brawling match. The memory of the monster that almost took him out in the sewer serves as fuel, not to give up now against a new opponent. Infuriated, he yells that he risked his life and future for this chance to get strong, refusing to end up as Monster Cho in some abandoned wasteland. Screaming for the beast to get off him, the young guy channels every drop of remaining willpower to flip the script. His face shows pure fury and grit, set on putting a permanent end to this suffocating fight. With his palm pressed directly against the monster's rotten face, Wu Ju blasts all his destructive magic at point-blank range. The blue energy detonates in a violent blast, completely obliterating the corpse's skull in one shot. Lifeless and unsupported, the monster's ruined body gets thrown back by the blast, collapsing onto the cold ground while our boy catches his breath. Exhausted and holding his injury, Wu Ju tries to recover his breath after that near-fatal battle. Right then, the system confirms the level 5 enemy's defeat, warning that he was poisoned, but his class triggered an automatic defense that dulled the effects. On top of that, the notification reveals his extraction gift has finally activated, as a glowing reward orb appears levitating near the defeated beast. Our boy cracks a stunned smile, thinking it's awesome that a monster like that actually dropped loot. Without delay, he reaches out with his injured hand and snatches the mysterious glowing object from the air. The panel shows he obtained a skeleton staff, perfect gear for his new class that boosts mana regen and even grants a summon spell. Hyped by the stats, the young guy celebrates that the regen and summoning prove this weapon was practically tailor-made for his needs. Pumped about his new power to summon a bone minion, he decides to test the spell right away. However, a red warning ruins the hype, warning there isn't enough energy for the action since his bar is practically empty. Leaning on the staff, he sighs that previous attacks drained almost his entire bar, noting his mana burns up way too fast. Suddenly, he grins wide as he remembers his newly awakened latent gift, thinking it's crazy he almost forgot about it. Checking the panel, he confirms the ability can be used on recently slain enemies, with a chance to absorb stats directly into himself. Even while hurt, the guy is thrilled, declaring that stealing stats is precisely the kind of broken power a transmigrator should have. However, noticing the skill costs 20 energy points, he realizes he first needs to stop the bleeding and find a safe hideout. His condition is looking rough. He's severely injured, poisoned, starving, and out of mana to fight. Gritting his teeth through the pain, our MC tears a strip from his damaged shirt to craft a makeshift bandage. Using his teeth to tighten the cloth around his wounded arm, he's fully aware he wouldn't survive if another enemy popped up right now. With the bandage set, Wu Ju approaches the headless carcass lying on the dry soil. Overcoming the grossness, he reaches his hand straight into the monster's rotten neck remains. He rubs the grime onto his face and neck, hoping the foul stench will mask his human smell in this place. The young guy limps over to a deserted wooden cabin, thinking he needs to restore his mana to activate extraction. Once safe inside, he sits leaning against the wall, figuring he just needs to rest up and focus on taking down strong enemies to swipe their traits. With a sharp, determined glare, he's confident that becoming invincible is only a matter of time with this skill. While he rests, one of the rotting monsters strolls slowly past the outside of the shack. Huddled in the dark, the kid stays dead silent, waiting for the threat to wander off without spotting him. Time ticks by, and his energy bar gradually recovers thanks to the boost from his newly acquired staff. The moment the bar hits the required amount, he snaps his eyes open with resolve, telling himself it's finally time. Standing up, He raises his glowing weapon and chants the spell terms to cast the summon magic for the very first time. Immediately, a vortex of blue energy spins forcefully on the shack's wooden floor. From the magical light, a small skeleton wearing rags materializes, and the panel displays the level 3 minion's stats, highlighting its role as a strategic pawn. Staring at his freshly created servant, the guy notes it's essentially cannon fodder with mid-stats, but feels a wave of relief not being alone anymore. Flashing a grin, he pats the servant's smooth skull, and decides to name him Wu Wei from here on out. Our MC reflects that living so long in that filthy sewer proved you can't achieve big things without a solid support team. He looks at his skeletal helper, firmly stating that from this day forward, the little guy will be his first line of defense. But then his stomach growls, reminding him his physical energy is dropping fast, and staying hidden here will only lead to a slow demise from hunger. Stepping outside, he concludes that if this realm's quest is all about survival, there must be supplies scattered across the map to keep him alive. As they trek across the dry soil, our boy feels certain that near those rewards, there are bound to be powerful enemies for him to steal stats from. During their careful exploration, the two sneak stealthily and take cover behind a massive boulder. The kid carefully peeks over the rock, scanning the environment to avoid any surprises. He spots a glowing treasure chest sitting suspiciously outside a destroyed cabin, finding the bait way too obvious. Despite knowing the risk, he flashes a confident grin, seeing it as the first step toward getting out of this miserable situation. Checking the area with zero cover nearby, our MC estimates dozens of zombies must be hiding inside waiting for prey. To figure out the enemy's attack pattern, he orders his servant to walk slowly and keep its focus on the cabin at all times. Obeying the command instantly, the little minion leaves cover and marches toward the target under the control spell. The skeletal buddy continues its solo march across the open field, steadily closing the gap to the dangerous chest. As soon as the minion crosses the 50-meter mark, the scene shifts drastically. A massive mob of rotting beasts smashes through the front of the abandoned shack, attacking in a violent, thunderous swarm. Terrified by that tide of angry enemies, the kid quickly orders his helper to fall back. Realizing the overwhelming numbers make running away impossible due to the spell's range limit, the young guy decides to sacrifice the servant to gauge their reaction. Hidden and safe, he watches the hunt from afar, agreeing that you have to pay a price if you want to grow stronger. Determined, he issues the final command, ordering the ally to turn around and face that horde head-on. Instantly, the brave minion turns and charges solo right into the mass of beasts. Within seconds, the little helper is brutally overwhelmed and torn apart by the enraged zombie tide. Upon getting notified of his summon's destruction, our MC mutters a promise that this loss won't be in vain. With the threat dealt with, the corpse horde loses interest and slowly retreats back to their starting spot. Analyzing the exact moment the chaos started, he concludes the enemies only go aggro if the target crosses the 50-meter boundary. A crafty smile spreads across his face, having already mapped out the ideal strategy using the data he just gathered. Right away, our guy steps out from behind the rock and chucks a heavy stone hard toward a lone zombie in the distance. While drawing the target's attention, he raises his arcana staff and starts chanting to re-summon his defense. The spell glow appears quickly on the ground, bringing back the same bone alley ready for phase 2 of the plan. Gently tapping the servant's skull, the young guy jokes that this time he'll go with a super basic name, dubbing him Ergozi. Pointing at the isolated beast, he breaks down step by step how the servant should lure the creature, and the little guy nods in understanding. Right on cue, a projectile flies through the air and thuds hard into the dry dirt right behind the target zombie. Following the plan perfectly, the little bone helper gathers more rocks and sets up for the next strike. The second throw lands clean, hitting the slow beast right on the back of its head. Hit, the enemy slowly turns its deformed face, clearly annoyed at whoever threw that from afar. The small minion stands still staring at the beast, playing its bait role flawlessly. Completely enraged, the rotting corpse lets out a terrifying screech and dashes recklessly after the bold minion. Without wasting a second, the helper turns on its heels and sprints away, pulling the angry beast far away from the main group. Hidden in a sweet spot, our MC watches everything with an excited grin, telling his ally to run faster. The helper zips right past the huge rock, where our boy is waiting with his weapon ready for a surprise hit. Watching the incoming target closely, The kid notes that the enemy walked right into his trap. Without giving it time to react, he swings the Arcana staff down hard, landing a devastating blow right on the oblivious beast's skull. Positioned on top of the rock, our boy holds his stance firm, assessing the damage caused by his surprise attack. But the blow wasn't enough, and the zombie looks up with demonic eyes, growling angrily as it prepares to strike back. Instantly, Wuju delivers a violent smack infused with magic power right into the opponent. Impacted, the beast tumbles off the rock completely knocked out, ending the threat right then and there. The system verifies the win, granting 6 experience points, which leaves him super satisfied with a flawless win without taking a scratch. Hyped by the strategy, he figures he just needs to rinse and repeat to deal with all those opponents. Looking down at little Urgozi below, our boy commends the great work and orders the minion to hunt down the next victim. He quickly calculates that taking down 20 of those beasts would secure a level up, plus yield valuable materials for his gift. Full of confidence, the young guy is certain that clearing this mob will bring a massive boost to his powers. But suddenly the situation flips, sending a look of pure panic across his face. Scanning the open field, he panics upon seeing the skeletal helper lured 5 beasts all at once into the trap. Terrified by being so outnumbered, our MC screams for the minion to circle around the massive boulder. Obeying the order immediately, the small summon runs in circles with the angry mob chasing close behind. Meanwhile, our boy ducks down on the rock formation and grabs several heavy stones from the ground. Instantly, he hurls the makeshift projectiles with full force at the beasts running down below. Spotting the attack, one opponent attempts to climb the rock, instantly becoming our boy's main target. Taking advantage of the high ground, he strikes the Arcana staff precisely onto the enemy, wiping out the danger and earning more EXP. Panic slams back hard when the system shows his mana bar hit 0 at the absolute worst possible moment. Seeing his small helper still running for its life from the remaining enemies, our guy realizes the servant won't hold out much longer. Refusing to lose his ally, he leans over the edge of the rock formation, eyes locked in with intense resolve. The young guy gets ready to risk it all on a crazy play. Without hesitating, he leaps off the top straight at one of the rotting beasts. Mid-fall, our MC readies his weapon with full conviction to deal maximum impact damage. Gravity does its work, and the staff strikes the opponent dead center, slamming the enemy into the dusty ground. However, on pure animalistic instinct, the monster manages to grab our boy's arm and land a painful bite. Sharp agony shoots through his body, but the young guy holds back his scream, refusing to back down. Overcome by a burst of rage and survival instinct, Wuju shouts loud as he drives his weapon even deeper into the enemy. The pain from the wound acts as fuel, pushing him to fight with everything. He's got to break free from this nightmare. Fueled by anger, he declares he didn't survive 6 months in that filthy sewer just to get defeated here. Delivering the final blow, our boy screams that he didn't travel from another dimension just to become food for trash like this. The final strike completely annihilates the opponent, granting more experience and dropping a shiny prize orb. Totally drained and injured, the kid collapses onto the dirt floor, catching his breath while staring at the newly acquired item. Still catching his breath, our MC reaches out a shaky hand and touches the glowing sphere lying on the ground. The system announces he received a simple mana potion, bringing a smile of pure relief to his face. Without wasting a single second, he pops the bottle cork with his teeth to save time. Chugging the potion in one gulp, the kid feels the instant effect working on his exhausted body. Restored by the drink, he stands up confident as a blue glow swirls around him, refilling his energy. Focused on the ongoing clash, he shifts his attention to the 3 beasts still chasing his little minion. With magic energy flowing through him again, Wuju readies his hands and prepares his offensive spells. The skeletal helper runs right in front of him, executing its bait duty perfectly by leading the creatures in. Showing impressive tactical smarts, the little ally slides nimbly behind a boulder for cover. Capitalizing on the opening created by the servant, the young guy blasts his blue energy right into the bunched up group. The combined force of the blast knocks down all enemies at once, filling the panel with success notifications and a fat stack of experience. Noticing the healing buff from the item is still active, our boy decides to seize the moment and test his special gift. Excited by the possibilities, our MC dashes over to the spot where the beasts were defeated. In a swift motion, he extends his hand over the corpses and triggers his long-awaited extraction gift. Multiple system screens pop up immediately, confirming he gathered a chunk of agility and alerting him to figure out how to allocate it. Super intrigued by the vague message, the kid stares at his glowing hand, wondering how he's supposed to use this himself. Checking his virtual options, he decides to mess with the system menu to see if he can find any useful hints. The panel displays his saved stats, making him ponder which stat would be best to buff with his hoarded resources. That's when he spots a tiny progression icon on the interface, suspecting his gift does way more than just bump up basic stats. Driven by curiosity, our MC taps the glowing icon to unlock the real secrets of his ability. Pure shock washes over him as he realizes he can upgrade his own spells, proving this gift is insanely overpowered. Analyzing the scenario logically, he calculates that investing such a tiny boost into himself would barely give an edge in a real fight. Glancing at his bone partner, the young guy gets the idea that dumping the points into his summoning spell might directly make the helper way stronger. Determined to test the theory, he clicks the option for his minion summoning magic. The interface confirms the target choice instantly, leaving our boy visibly hyped by the possibilities. Checking the stats, he overflows with joy realizing he can pass resources directly to the little guy, stacking power onto his companion. The excitement evaporates instantly when the panel demands copper coins to complete the process, making him furious at this unexpected fee. Swallowing his frustration, his expression darkens, knowing he has to spend his cash if he wants to make it out alive. With no other practical choice, he hits accept and watches his hard-earned coppers get eaten by the system. Right away, a bright aura wraps around the servant as notifications announce stat boosts and reveal the summon no longer drains mana to stay active. Extremely hyped by his ally's upgrade, Wu Ju commands them to push forward with their search across the desolate zone. The small minion charges with violent speed, striking a rotting monster with insane speed and power. Right behind offering full support, our boy delivers a lethal blow to the head of another distracted enemy. Working in complete sync, the duo takes down beasts way faster and smoother than before. The battle zone turns into a show of blue magic, proving how much their teamwork leveled up the fight's flow. After taking down countless beasts back to back, the two rest up to catch their breath in a finally danger-free area. Suddenly, a bright beam of light shines down on our MC, showing that all that non-stop grinding paid off. The interface celebrates the milestone, announcing he hit level 2 and his max mana bar expanded successfully. However, the excitement flips to pure frustration upon noticing the stat bump was minuscule, feeling the reward was totally unfair for the effort put in. Accepting the harsh truth of his slow progression, he walks over to the carcasses and begins absorbing the available materials. Swiftly, his latent gift does its job, extracting more precious agility data straight into our boy's storage. Keeping up the momentum, he invests a few more coppers and passes the recent upgrade straight to his skeletal helper. Astonished while reading the ally's stat sheet, the young guy sees his servant's growth is turning into something downright ridiculous. Based on that, he stays focused on extracting stats from every fallen beast across the barren region without getting distracted. Using items he found, our boy downs another mana potion to patch up his fresh wounds and instantly refill his stamina. Holding the empty glass bottle, the young guy verifies the healing drink was the exact piece missing to get him back in shape. Still, the memory of that brutal hit from the last beast lingers, bothering him deeply. Fully aware that a high-level enemy of that caliber shouldn't be underestimated under any circumstances. The urgency of the situation makes him sweat with tension, knowing he needs to save his ace in the hole for the crucial moment. The kid's eyes shine with pure determination, showing his focus is entirely locked on surviving this trial. Scouting the ruined village from high ground, Wu Ju scans the area and notes he's cleared out all the scattered beasts on the outer edges. With the perimeter secured, he concludes it's finally time to take on the massive central horde. Sketching a tactic on the dry dirt, our boy points out that the biggest flaw with those beasts is their complete lack of brains. Using that factor to his advantage, he orders his ally to dig as many pitfall traps as possible along the path drawn in the dirt. Standing confident, the kid looks back at the crowd of anomalies bunched up near the ruined shacks. Without hesitation, the little bone helper begins digging furiously using a broken piece of wood. After 2 hours of backbreaking work, the open field has turned into a legit minefield of hidden pitfall traps. Super pleased with the work, our boy pats the servant's skull and praises the solid job done, Quickly the mood turns serious again, with our MC warning in a grave tone that their future will be decided right here, right now. Without wasting a single moment, he issues the final order for his small ally to attack and draw literally every beast in the village all at once. Playing the bait role flawlessly, the bone helper stomps hard on the ground, right next to the gathered mob. The sudden noise instantly draws the focus of every rotting beast around the rustic building. Furious, the monsters dash into a mad chase after the tiny summon, who sprints away at full speed. From a distance, Wu Ju yells urgently for his partner not to deviate and stick strictly to the planned route. The plan works like a charm as the brainless monsters start crashing into each other and tumbling straight into the hidden pitfall traps. The servant maintains its sprint while system notifications confirm multiple enemies are already biting the dust along the way. Hyped by the insane success of the tactic, our boy orders his ally to keep sprinting without ever looking back. Hot on its heels, the mob steadily thins out as more monsters clumsily fall into the trenches spread across the dry zone. The battleground turns into total chaos, proving that 2 full hours of tedious digging totally paid off. The system quickly logs over 20 consecutive kills, but our MC's focus gets hijacked by something bizarre emerging from the middle of the horde. A gigantic monster violently plows through, tossing smaller creatures aside like ragdolls with ease. Recognizing the massive danger, our boy realizes in terror that the special big bad has finally entered the fight. Gripping a large rock on the ground, he wonders what kind of insane stats he could pull from an enemy that big. Fully focused on his game plan, he readies the stone to throw, figuring he should wipe out the normal beasts before taking on the leader. The throw is spot on, hitting an oblivious regular monster square in the head and drawing all its aggro. Furious from the ranged attack, the corpse changes course and rushes madly toward our boy's position. Maintaining a calm stance, our MC focuses power into his staff and casts his damage spell, unleashing massive destructive force. The devastating strike cuts through the air and hits the enemy skull head-on, taking the beast down in a single lethal hit. Instantly, a glowing pillar of light wraps around the guy, signaling he reached the coveted level 3 and gained a sweet max mana boost. Reading the panel alerts, he grins wide upon seeing he unlocked skill transfer for his latent gift. The hype reaches its peak when the interface shows his command capacity increased, letting him summon 2 servants simultaneously. On top of that amazing upgrade, little Urgozi gets an instant stat boost thanks to the upgraded bond with its summoner. Fueled by fresh, deep power, the skeletal helper gains insane speed, zooming across the field at max horsepower. Quickly assessing his fresh advantage, Wu Ju decides wiping out the rest of the mob is the top priority right now. Without wasting a single second, he raises his glowing weapon and chants the spell to summon a second helper for the tough fight. From the magical vortex on the ground, a new bone helper emerges glowing with a soft blue light, instantly earning the nickname Sangozi. Assembling his squad, the makeshift leader commands his 2 ruthless warriors into the offensive. Operating in perfect sync, both allies charge fiercely at the remaining enemies to completely clear the field. Right then, one fast zombie breaches the line and leaps claws out straight at our isolated MC. But our boy doesn't back up an inch, counterattacking by spinning his heavy weapon with force and swatting the enemy mid-air. The brutal impact slams the monster hard onto the solid dirt, neutralizing the threat super effectively. Looking down at the motionless corpse, the guy sighs in relief at being able to protect himself before it was too late. Extreme fatigue hits out of nowhere, and he quickly downs another potion to heal his health lost in the brawl. But a deafening roar behind him makes him whip his head around to identify the source of new danger. Making a terrifyingly huge leap, the elite beast leaps through the air, landing right on top of the group squad. Gripping his weapon with complete mastery in his eyes, the kid smirks tauntingly, warning that now only this brute is left to beat. Overcome by fury, the beast lets out a deep roar that shakes the surrounding ground from the raw pressure released. Backed by his 2 loyal followers, our MC channels all his freshly restored magic and launches his most powerful destruction spell. However, the blue beam hits the colossal enemy's gut and simply vanishes in a flash, doing 0 damage against the boss's tough hide. System alerts flash warning about the enemy's rage, and the young guy realizes in terror that the creature's defense is way too high for a normal attack. The Colossus roars again, taking that weak hit as an insult and directing its ruthless aggression straight at our bold boy. Taking full advantage of its massive frame and weight, The beast swings both giant arms with devastating power right at the vulnerable target. Pure defensive instinct kicks in, and Wuju dodges quickly to the side, firing another Arcana beam to scout for any possible weak point. This time the attack hits right on the colossal beast's face, causing a localized explosion right in the massive enemy's eye. Deep frustration hits our MC as he realizes not even 2 clean hits dealt real damage to the monster's defense. Angered by the dire setup, the young guy yells in rage and fires another energy blast, using all his remaining mana. The creature counters by swinging a giant bone club, forcing our boy to duck at the last millisecond to dodge that lethal strike. Taking advantage of the opening from his quick duck, the blue blast shoots up and hits the colossal enemy's exposed neck directly. Panic sets in as the guy notices the beast barely flinched, and now there's zero room to dodge the counterattack. In a lightning-fast hit, the monster lands a devastating kick that sends our MC and his minion flying through the air. Luckily, one of his brave servants manages to cling to the giant's leg, creating the exact golden opening our boy needed to turn the fight around. Leaping high, Wuju channels a massive amount of dark energy into his hands, summoning the true dark version of his destruction spell. The magic blade strikes with pinpoint precision, deeply piercing the monster's eye and dealing critical damage to its supposedly unbreakable barrier. From the force of that thunderous blow, the boss completely loses its balance and crashes onto its back on the dirt floor. Totally exhausted from pouring out power, the kid hits the ground sliding through dust, while a thick mist covers the wrecked field. The system flashes urgent alerts non-stop, indicating his HP and MP hit critical levels after that risky gamble. Out of nowhere, a nasty zombie hidden in the smoke leaps furiously at our boy's back while he's still trying to get up from the fall. In a desperate attempt to dodge the hit, the kid uses his teeth to pop open a potion, trying to chug the magic liquid as fast as humanly possible. But there's no time for the healing to kick in, and the enemy slashes his chest, pulling a scream of pure agony from the bottom of his soul. The scene turns into pure horror as the monster's giant hands grab him mercilessly and lift him into the air, leaving him zero way to defend himself. Lifted off the ground with no chance of defense, Wuju readies his lethal spell right in front of the colossal beast. The creature opens its jaws ready to swallow him whole, but our guy acts fast, jamming his weapon directly into the beast's throat and unleashing every drop of destructive power. A massive explosion of blue energy detonates inside, blasting the enemy's skull with full force. The damage is insane, leaving the special beast completely paralyzed and smoking. Without resistance, the giant creature falls backward hard, dropping our boy during the crash. Our MC slams violently into the dirt, falling on his back completely out of breath. Totally drained from the insane energy drain, he struggles to catch his breath after narrowly escaping game over. Just then, the panel confirms the special enemy was successfully taken down, awarding 30 experience points. His skeletal servant slowly walks over to him, clacking its bones with every step along the way. Little Urgozi stops right beside its sprawling master, watching the rough shape its owner is in. Using the fallen boss's leg to brace himself, Wuju pulls off a huge effort to sit up while his bone helper tries to support him. A healing glow wraps around his damaged body, proving the magic drink he chugged right before that last strike was what saved his skin. The servant tilts its head sideways, confused about what just went down. Super hyped by the fight's outcome, the young guy touches the bone hand, celebrating that they finally downed a powerhouse enemy. Turning his eyes to the giant remains, he beams with excitement, declaring he can't wait to check out the loot. Extending his palm over the corpse, our boy triggers his absorption skill immediately. The panel reports stat gains and an elite shard drop, leaving him amazed at how broken his gift is for pulling rare items. However, the unmistakable clatter of a fresh wave of monsters approaching grabs both their attention. Creator and creation lock eyes for a second, understanding the job ahead without needing a single word. With energy restored, the kid concludes now's the perfect time to finish clearing the zone and loot everything hidden around here. Working in perfect sync, the duo charges hard against the remaining opponents. Our boy handles the staff like a pro, landing a crushing blow on one of the zombies. Riding the momentum, he lands a heavy kick that drops another enemy instantly. 10 minutes of intense fighting pass, and our MC calls the fight over, though a bit disappointed by the meager loot dropped by so many mobs. However, 2 glowing orbs catch his eye, showing the colossal beast dropped something special. Driven by curiosity, he walks over to where the boss fell to inspect the prize. The first item is a nice pouch packed with 300 copper coins, filling his hands with treasure. Checking the second reward, his jaw drops even further. It's a reinforced leather chest piece that also provides partial defense against the beast's toxin. His joy fades fast when a red system message blocks equipping it, making our boy curse in frustration since it's warrior-only armor. Glancing at his bone servant, a sneaky idea pops into his head regarding the class restriction. Without wasting time, he straps the belts and fits the armor directly onto his little helper. The minion strikes a grand, empowered pose, now looking super decked out in the tough armor. Thrilled, the young guy praises its look, celebrating that the elite reward didn't go to waste. With his ally buffed up, his expression turns serious as he announces it's time to go after this place's ultimate prize. Searching the area, he finds a clean water spring and a hidden wooden crate. The panel explains the liquid restores mana while local fruit refills stamina. Hyped, he opens the heavy chest, discovering a valuable spell manual inside. Checking the spell confirms our boy will finally gain a massive tactical edge for scouting enemies before combat. To refuel, he plucks some ripe fruit from the nearest tree. Splashing clean spring water on his face, the kid jokes that this is the kind of life that makes all the grinding worth it. Munching on the fruit, he plans to fully exploit this infinite mana source and the massive pile of defeated monsters across the field. Snapping his fingers with complete confidence, he announces the time for a massive stat extraction spree has arrived. A long routine kicks off, alternating between draining stats from dead beasts, drinking spring water to refill mana, and dumping a pile of coins to make his summon overpowered. Resting after all that labor, our MC concludes an ordinary guy could never beat that mob, proving his evolutionary gift is the secret sauce to success. Analyzing his helper's updated stats, he estimates that if this growth rate keeps up, he'll soon command an unbeatable squad. Suddenly, a floating alert pops up warning that the survival trials timer is almost up. 3 full days pass in the abandoned realm. Perched on a high ruin, the young guy reflects on how he successfully wiped out multiple monster nests thanks to his minion, heavily leveling up his skills. The interface declares time is up, offering the option to leave this lethal realm. With absolute resolve, the young guy agrees to extract without hesitating for a single second. Swiftly, the interface tallies all his results, boosting his final score for clearing an entire mob. Happy with the stellar rank he achieved, he's engulfed in a beam of magic light that teleports him back to the city. In the real world, the massive regional headquarters of the Necromancer Alliance kicks off its third day of business. Inside the main room, the veteran who saved our boy earlier stares anxiously at a magic item, unsure if the rookie will make it back alive. The loud sound of the entrance slamming open breaks the quiet room. A redhead walks in oozing power, instantly recognized as Officer Joe Huiming. Walking over to the desk, she announces in a super bureaucratic tone that he's been summoned to explain the absurd blunder with the Shadow Scroll. Having zero tolerance for excuses, the newcomer slams her fist on the desk, establishing total dominance over the conversation. In a swift move, the woman chucks a pair of heavy handcuffs in front of the veteran, coldly ordering him to cuff himself. Trying to defend himself, the man claims he followed standard protocols and already submitted a full report on the situation to higher-ups. The investigator confirms she reviewed the documents, mocking his crazy plan of handing a lethal artifact to a civilian just to bait members of an illegal cult. With clear disdain, she makes it obvious she considers that whole excuse a massive load of trash. To drive her anger home, she slams the table again, demanding real answers. The investigator leans in and hostilely asks where the test subject is, noting that based on the deadline, the kid should return today. Settling into her chair calmly, she warns she's got plenty of time to sit and see if this rookie actually survived. 10 nerve-wracking minutes pass until the comm device in the man's hand lights up brightly. Gripping the glowing device, he hears the woman taunt him, asking if he's scared to check the potential tragic ending. Harshly shutting down the offer, the man declares he'll check it himself. Activating a quick function, he projects a massive light panel onto the room's wall to display the trial logs. Overflowing with confidence, the veteran proves his protege managed to escape the trial without serious injury. Rising from her seat, she sarcastically congratulates him and orders him to come with her to the interrogation room right now. The woman shifts the tone of the talk, revealing the main reason for her visit wasn't just to detain her coworker. However, shock takes over when she finally checks the specific numbers on the glowing screen. Confirmation that a talentless rookie achieved a sky-high score in the trial leaves the investigator totally dumbfounded by the data. Trying to regain control of the conversation, the veteran points to his chest and declares the kid holds the silver badge and is his direct subordinate. The investigator laughs at his terrible plan, but the warrior blocks the doorway, refusing to hand the guy over to a lunatic who just wants to use him. Suddenly, the veteran's eyes widen as he senses a massive power signature appearing right behind him. Shock hits the woman too, as she turns her gaze toward the light illuminating the room. A beam of magic light lands in the room, teleporting our MC back from the trial completely unharmed. The magic light slowly fades, revealing the young guy's exhausted body and torn clothes. Thrilled to be alive, Wu-Ju quickly recognizes the warrior and offers his sincere thanks for saving him. Eyeballing the kid with suspicion, the investigator considers that he's nothing more than an apprentice necromancer with a completely generic background. She asks point blank how someone so weak achieved such a high score fighting dangerous corpses. 10 minutes of explanations pass in the room, during which the kid recounts how he had the luck of finding a bone staff right at the start. Trying to legitimize his defense, he assures he used healing items he found along the way alongside his summon to clear the map, showing confusion over why there's so much suspicion. The woman isn't buying the story, finding it way too convenient that potions were sitting in the perfect spot during his biggest crisis. Pacing around the room, she deeply questions how a single basic helper cleared a level 5 beast all by itself. Extremely annoyed, she points an accusing finger at the kid for faking, since controlling a servant while casting spells at the same time is an advanced skill that prodigies take years to master. Having zero patience for lies, our boy simply triggers his power and summons his small bone servant right in the center of the room to prove his point. The small ally dashes quickly across the desk, showing a level of agility way above what's expected for its rank. Working in full sync with its summoner, the minion snatches an apple from the basket. The helper tosses the apple high into the air with precision while the kid maintains total control over the scene. Using one hand, our MC catches the fruit while channeling an attack spell in his other hand. The blue power slices through the air and slams hard into the wall, proving he can indeed focus on two complex actions at once. The warrior stands amazed, noticing the insane level of mastery the kid reached in just 3 days. Taking a bite of the fruit with a super relaxed attitude, our boy taunts the situation, asking if this isn't something anyone can do easily. A drop of sweat rolls down the woman's face as she finally swallows her pride, realizing she's standing before a legit raw genius. Super happy with how things played out, the warrior grins with pride for putting his trust in the right kid. Next, the three head over to the organization's massive training grounds to test the guy's skills in a real trial. Pointing at the complex, the investigator explains this place was built specifically to benchmark newly promoted pros. Giving the kid a gentle nudge, the warrior motivates him to reveal his true potential without holding back. Super confident in his skills, Wu-Ju summons his skeletal helper to begin the evaluation. The small servant sprints at max speed through the course, nimbly weaving around obstacles. Taking advantage of the opening created by the servant, the young guy raises his arm and fires a precise spell at the target dummies. Showing off the results of his invested stats, the helper lands a terrifying blow on the moving barriers of the course. The impact is so brutal that the training structure shakes, proving the insane physical power of that tiny summon. To wrap up the sequence, the magic blast hits the target dead center flawlessly, finishing the display of skill. Completely out of energy and breathing heavily, our MC catches his breath, happily noticing his helper's attack is almost ready to level up. Checking the metrics output by the device, the warrior passes the documented results over to his boss. He highlights with immense pride that the newcomer's skill far surpasses the rookie average. Asking if she's finally satisfied, reviewing the document, the investigator has to admit the kid's magic proficiency is genius level, growing at a mind-blowing pace. Despite acknowledging it, she grumbles under her breath that his starter necromancer class heavily caps his growth potential. Intrigued by the guy's choices, she asks why he decided to escape the realm instead of hunting in more zones, given he had plenty of strength to spare. Scratching his head, the young guy cooks up a quick excuse, arguing that he felt the realm was way too lethal and decided not to gamble his life out of pure greed. The boss ponders the excuse, believing the kid is just overly cautious, which contradicts her initial suspicions. Satisfied with the answers, the investigator turns around and walks down the hallway, muttering that the rookie is super weird. The veteran watches the boss disappear into the distance, feeling a huge wave of relief knowing the interrogation is over. Slapping a hand on the guy's back, he takes a deep breath and celebrates that they managed to dodge that bullet. Nodding at the warrior, Wu Ju gives an awkward laugh, aware he had to fake it to hide his real power level. Now that the trouble has passed, the young guy flashes a mischievous grin and tells the veteran it's time for him to pay up what's owed. Completely lost by the unexpected request, the warrior doesn't get what the rookie wants with that statement. Putting on a massive performance, our boy drops to the floor and hugs the veteran's legs, crying loudly to demand compensation for risking his life. Having zero patience for the drama, the supervisor drags the kid along the hallway floor, busting right into the division control room. The room's door slams shut violently, followed by sounds of scuffling, and the young guy frantically apologizing for the embarrassing scene he caused. Kicked out of the room with a swift boot to the rear, our MC hears the veteran yell, never to pull a ridiculous stunt like that again. Adjusting his fresh employee uniform, he checks the notification confirming he's now an Alliance apprentice, deciding the punishment was a fair trade. Walking through his new workplace, he carries a stack of paperwork, huffing about having to work the moment he arrived. Aware of the responsibility he carries, he vows to grind hard at work, so he doesn't let down the warrior who gave him this major break. The scene shifts to the massive Nanshan Center, a top-tier institute focused solely on training newly promoted pros. Our guy is placed incognito working in the facility's library, since that was the exact spot where the dark scroll surfaced weeks prior. Leaning against the front desk, he figures his boss sent him to this boring post specifically to act as bait for any hidden cult member. The problem is a whole week went by just organizing shelves without receiving any specific plan, causing frustration over having zero operational support. Rolling a cart shelf down the aisle, he figures the warrior hasn't forgotten him, but left the field open to avoid spooking the enemies. A sly, scheming smile spreads across his face, deciding to take advantage of this complete freedom to operate however he wants. Focused on his personal goal of getting overpowered, the young guy opens his system menu, eager to solve the problem of being stuck at the same level for so long. He carefully inspects the floating screen displaying all his apprentice mage stats. Through hard work during that boring week, he finally unlocked the passive gift of meditation. On top of the new skill, his top score in the trial earned him 50 silver coins, securing a pretty sweet bank account. Weighing his next moves, our boy calculates that dumping this wealth into his extraction talent will level up his bone helper real quick. The panel logs the end of his shift, bringing huge peace of mind for surviving another boring day on his undercover job. Packing his things into his bag, the guy plans to request time off from work to focus on buying essential battle supplies. A serious, determined look takes over his face as he resolves to take action and grind with full force. Stepping out the main entrance of the building, he logs into his digital account, feeling super confident with the cash he saved up. Punching his own palm, he celebrates that all those funds will be enough to deal serious damage to his enemies. However, reality slaps him hard when he walks into the shop and sees basic potions cost an absolute fortune. The terror grows as he checks the display cases and realizes even low-tier gear carries absurd price tags way out of his budget. Fuming with rage, he tries to maintain a fake smile, knowing prices in this area are steep, but thinking these prices are legit highway robbery. Inspecting a mana recovery accessory, he sees he actually has enough cash to buy it, but the item's stats aren't worth the outrageous price tag. After endless haggling and planning his investments, our MC hands over 20 silver coins at the register and acquires a small stash of potions and weapons for the journey ahead. Carrying his little bag, Wu Ju feels the sting of losing 20 silver coins, remembering he'd have to slave away in the sewer for 2 full years to earn that kind of fortune. Accepting the crazy expense, the young guy organizes his gear and decides to pick up the pace towards Sector 5, Hyper, focused on leveling up to make up for the lost cash. As he walks down a crowded shopping street, he figures taking a shortcut through here will significantly cut down travel time. However, a shock hits our MC as he glances down a dark alley and spots a creepy hooded figure selling weird bottles. Super uneasy about the odd setup, He wonders how an unregistered black market shop can operate in a place like this. The stranger's presence is intimidating, radiating a creepy vibe that instantly presses our boy and makes him sweat nervously. Feeling immense tension, the kid tries to act casual and tells himself not to stop walking or make eye contact with the hidden merchant. In a rush to get out of there, he quickens his pace, terrified that the weird seller might force him to buy something if he shows any interest. Leaving the threat behind, he continues walking through the city's narrow streets until he finally approaches his actual destination. Shortly after, the young guy stops before a massive armored gate, sighing in relief at reaching Zone 5 without any trouble. Fully locked in on his quest, our boy taps his pro badge against the scanner to open the gate to the Institute. The technology verifies his pass instantly, causing the heavy, impenetrable barrier to open with a loud mechanical clunk. Checking his clearance, he confirms nervously that he's one step away from entering the famous skeleton cave. Because of that, our MC is completely confident that his insane path to getting overpowered has officially begun. Without hesitating for a single second, he steps into the shadows of the deep cavern, ready to fight any danger that comes his way.